Join the voices of the ages in an ancient melody. It's a song you should not be afraid to sing. It's a song that was written by our fathers.
I got a question.
Sure.
You know already I opposed you guys, right? But I'm not here to do that. What I'm here to ask you is, just think about this, yeah? Just think about this. Okay? You get your house in Kapolei, yeah? That's your house. The sanctity of your houses belong to you and your family, right? You get kids, right? So, me and a gang of thugs, we choose to come to your house and invade your house and take over your house and do whatever we choose in your house, okay? And later on, we tell you, hey, you know what, sister, we're sorry we did that, okay? Do you truly believe that I have a right, as the thief, as the thug, to suggest to you how we resolve this problem, how we should fix this problem, and how, if we mend this problem between us, that we can mend it only if I still maintain control of your house. I mean, I'll let you guys play in the yard. I'll let you park your car in the garage, but I still maintain control of your house. In your heart, do you think that it is pono for me to even suggest such an avenue of resolution?
You're suggesting resolution. Suggesting resolution?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
saying
absolutely.
that I have a right to do
that
so?
is my point about nation within a nation is exactly what you're saying. Whatever the outcome, we don't know. We're going to negotiate. But the point is, you are suggesting resolution. Am I going to be the same person? No, any crime, you can take any crime, assault, rape, you name it. The victim will never be the same person ever again. A victim of rape will not be the same woman or man.
right.
The damage is done. But should that perpetrator pay restitution? Should that perpetrator they're going to do time?
Right.
Having been in the system, as you said, I
No.
think you do your time, but there's a negotiation, and doing time for that crime is part of that restitution. Is it ever going to be the same? No. But what you're suggesting is that I'm going to give the U.S. total control. What I'm saying is, nation within a nation is about not letting the U.S. have so much control. Having our own nation that starts to level the playing field, because right now they are in control. Right?
I think you misunderstood what I'm saying.
No, I think that it's
My-
misunderstood
my-
about nation within a nation, that the presumption is they're always going to be on top. I'm going to ask Poka for UN. Do you need U.S. consent to be recognized by United Nations?
No. Normally, if
You don't need the United States to consent to
not
that.
for recognition. Let me answer
Okay.
that question, and maybe we can get back to what you have talked about. Normally, we think that the U.S., the criminal, need to consent to have jurisdiction over the question of recognition, which is a question she asked. The answer in this case is no. To have jurisdiction over the United States, the answer is yes, because if they don't consent, you ain't going to get no jurisdiction. Same problem that Keanu ran into, yeah, no consent. But for recognition, that's a different process. You see what has happened is that the General Assembly controls who can go before the Special Committee on Decolonization. So when you had Vanuatu, or when you had Kanaki, or the New Hebrides, New Caledonia, and even Tahiti, when they went back to the United Nations, to the General Assembly, and they said what the French did to us, they cheated. They took us off the list without giving us the appropriate choices. The General Assembly then voted, and that question is controlled by the General Assembly, not the U.S. The United States, France, Britain, and all their gang teamed up to vote against re-inscribing them on the list. But the vast majority of those who control the General Assembly now are nations who became decolonized. since the
So
days
I guess
UN
maybe
was
not,
formed.
maybe not recognition. We'll talk about just decolonization then, right? So like you said earlier, it's not just about leaving. There's a mindset change that has to happen even after the colonizer leaves. Decolonization is about changing a mindset.
Yeah.
And so we have to choose, we have to make that fit into our situation today. That was the conversation earlier.
But actually, my
Well, the-
my
but the
question,
part today-
my question is, are you suggesting that it is porno for the thief or the criminal?
Theft is always
Wait.
wrong.
Hear me out. For the thief or the criminal to be the leader and to provide the avenue for which resolution is done, and to maintain that control within the confines of what he determines to be okay. The DOI
I hear you.
hearings, the DOI hearings this was the false premise that I saw. They said this is for your self-determination and governance within the confines of the federal government, which means you allow us to play in this square, but the minute I step outside, you're gonna say no because we're
Because
still
you're
in control.
asking them to do something that is out of their purview. That's like asking Governor Abercrombie to make a federal decision. He cannot. He is a
Right.
state administrator.
Right, but
So
all
you're
I'm saying is
asking- you're-
it's ludicrous
Right.
to allow the thief even to suggest what kind of resolutions
Okay,
we come to.
so
That's what
I'm
my
trying to
point is.
answer that. That your thief, the United States, is not coming here with the rule. The thief is coming here. I'm calling them the thief as you refer them to
Okay.
them as such. The thief is coming to say, in 1993, we are acknowledging via the apology bill, we were wrong. They have not given any reparations. It's taken this many years.
Yeah.
So now they're here saying, what do you want that rule to look like? They didn't come with the rule telling you how we're going to fix it, as the example you're giving me. You rob my house and then you're going to be in control. They're saying, what should that rule look like? Tell them. But all we're doing is fighting and arguing, saying, go home, we don't need a rule. Make the rule. They're putting the ball in our court saying, what should it look like? Don't let us tell you, tell us what that should look like.
Yeah. We're
But
already
we're not
on that
telling
path,
them.
though. We're already on that path without them. We
Okay,
don't
so
want
you're
their
on that
involvement.
path without them because you're going for an international path, correct? Or you're going for total independence.
Total independence.
And what we're saying, all I'm saying is, keep going for independence, that's fine. Those people who want to be recognized as a nation within a nation, it's only gonna happen if you enroll, if you get on the base roll. They're only gonna recognize those who choose to be recognized. You can choose not to be, not or, and. Right, so that rule is, once there is a governing entity, and that governing entity, by the will of the people, will make that choice to choose federal recognition. If the Native Hawaiian people say, no, we don't want federal recognition, and you're confident that 98% or whatever it is of the people don't want it, then what's so scary? We'll never walk through that door then. Right?
Good point.
If you don't want it, we'll never walk through that door, but don't not create the door to walk through. Keep all the options open. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Simple question, why is federal recognition needed?
Why is federal recognition needed?
Correct.
Federal recognition, right now, why we fight for federal recognition or why we want support of federal recognition is that it helps us to make decisions by Hawaiians, for ourselves. Right now, they make the decisions without us at the table. When they made the Native Hawaiian Education Act, when they created NAHASDA, were any of us there? No. We should be negotiating for ourselves. What Poka just said earlier is, decolonization has to fit the situation we are in today. Our history is terrible. The United States has a history of doing terrible things to Native people, Native Hawaiians and otherwise. In their westward expansion, they were horrible to Native people. Not just our people, but all Native people, right? And So we need to fix that. So do we want them to go on making those decisions without us, or do we want to be present? I'm saying nation within a nation, because when they decide what that's going to look like, I want to have a say. Because right now that's happening without us. Again, international, any quest towards independence need not stop. Like Poca says, do I want total independence someday? Sure. Do I think I can achieve that in my lifetime? I don't know. Probably not. So I want to secure what I believe we can secure in my lifetime. I believe that it's not an impediment. I think many people who go to the UN, when they say, who do you represent? Well, we weren't at that family luau, so they weren't representing us. When we are an organized governing entity, we can then push on the United States and say, tell them that we have been recognized.
And before you continue, let me try to answer also another aspect. In the Rice versus Cayetano case, part of the argument to stop the non-native Hawaiians from voting in the election, they said, look at all of these other Indian nations, that they can hold their own elections and not everybody jumping in and determining how to pick the trustees or their council members. The Supreme Court, by a majority, said, yeah, but they are federally recognized. Hawaii has not achieved that status yet. So that's just one additional element on the support that federal recognition would have. Go ahead, you had
Okay,
something.
so in this creation period, the people are going to be able to determine the nation, within a nation, a government by Hawaiians, for Hawaiians, the people are going to be able to determine what that is, who is, and describe what a Hawaiian is.
No, they're saying you can elect your own delegates to try to create this entity, but it has to fall within federal policy.
And what is that?
Well, it's
Right,
that
so
you
right
cannot
now-
declare independence.
Right,
first
so
of all.
back to the original question, yes, federal recognition helps to protect entitlements, right? So KS preference policy, the OHA voting, that requires federal recognition, not to violate 14th Amendment, the 14th
Equal
Amendment.
protection.
Yeah, equal protections.
Clause.
So, yeah, sorry. I lost my train of thought. What were you saying now?
So the limitations that they provide, the feds provide, you got to follow their law. You got to meet the policy,
Oh.
even after you go through the hoops that they are saying you will need to go through.
And so right now, that hoop that he's talking about is Kana'i Oluwalu, right? That what this process is saying, and maybe other people feel differently, but the council's answers to those questions to the DOI was, sure, we don't need you to create the process for us. It started. We want you to acknowledge the state process, Kana'i Oluwalu, which registers Native Hawaiians, and from that registered role, we would have to select delegates and go through a process of having a constitutional convention. And so that is the process that we've been in support of.
One last question. So, when my grandfather, Maliatoa, went to the United Nations to relinquish their rights as a British occupied nation, they didn't ask Britain for any kind of recognition, federal recognition. They asked to be released. Britain, by admiralty law, said, you're able to govern yourselves, then we will relinquish, and they went to the United Nations, and they are recognized in the United Nations as Samoa. How is that different here in Hawaii?
With regards to the British and Free Samoa. Free Samoa, I believe Samoa itself was listed on the places that needed to be decolonized. So what Britain did was take the process of letting Samoa decide, and then if they decide for independence, they did free. in Hawaii, as well as in Alaska and many other places, the Americans switched the question. The question was not whether or not you want independence or stay part of the United States, but how you're going to stay within the United States, either a state or remain a territory. So you mentioned the word fraud. There you had the fraud that was committed against our people and against the United Nations when the United States reported in 1959 that the people have exercised self-determination, and in that exercise chose to remain part of the United States. Not only them, but the French are very famous for that kind of fraudulent action. So what they do, they take a vote. But it's not only Tahiti or Kanaki that can vote, it's all of France that can vote. They say, oh, we are all equal. And so naturally everybody else wants to keep them in. So what happened, they were taken off of the list of places to be decolonized. Now the Kanaks from Kanaki and the Tahitians went back to the United Nations, to the General Assembly, after many years, and said they cheated. We weren't given a fair vote. We want to be re-inscribed in the list of territories. And they won that battle at the General Assembly. Just recently, last year, Tahiti got re-inscribed. So that's why I'm saying the quest is still there, the battle is still there. But we cannot win if, as Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided will fall. The Hawaiian people, until we get together, we're fighting with one another, and really it's for the advancement of everyone. Let me go back to your earlier question. Sometimes, and I pose this in some of my earlier writings, okay, I sleeping one night, I get 8 kids, somebody come and steal all the kids from me. I piss off, I know exactly who and steal them. And as the years go by, then they come and they tell me, I tell you what, I'm not going to give you all your kids back. I'm going to give you one that's named Kaho'olawe. And I'm going to give you another one that's named Oahu. But the rest I'm going to keep. And maybe I'm going to give you pieces of Hawaii. But the rest I'm going to keep. What is my response? Of course I'm going to accept them. I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm still going to fight for every one of them. But I'm going to incrementally take as much as I can because that's my right. So it's not a matter of all or nothing. What I'm saying is I'm going to take as much as I can, and I'm still going for all, and I'm not going to stop. Uncle Joe, you had.
So maybe at this point in time, we can add one more conjunction. Not only or and, but maybe with. In other words, or leaves us with one, and may give us more than one, and none. But with could be a conjunction of all of the above, part of the above, or none of the above, along with the thought of, in order to move forward and the lifestyle that we are in today, we still must think of the money power, because that's the exchange that we have in order to get what we need or even get what we want, along with everything else, because that's what we're trying to move forward to, right? You understand what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
understand that with is
I see
another.
you smiling.
No, I guess one of my questions I always have is, and why the notion about who are citizens. So we're all citizens of the United States, some Hawaiian, some non-Hawaiian, that some believe just Hawaiians in the nation, some believe it's open to everyone. Open to everyone, and again, why I say you take this in bite-sized pieces and you keep working, you don't give up, you keep fighting for that independence, which is the ultimate end. But not just for Hawaiians, we talk about inclusive non-Hawaiians. And you hear a lot in the paper that, well, maybe 90% of the Hawaiians have shifted now to independence. which I would disagree with, but that's neither here nor there. But let's talk about those non-Hawaiians. Are we all of the understanding that non-Hawaiians who would become citizens of our kingdom are willing to give up their U.S. citizenship?
Well, that's a choice for
Okay,
them to.
that's a,
to
right,
make
so
at
that's
that
a
time.
choice for them to make. So I'm just saying, given where we are today, in that is, it's not just about us, the 2 tracks that Polka is talking about. It's about all, we're polling Hawaiians and we're saying that our kingdom is not just Hawaiians, it's equal to non-Hawaiians. And what is that poll of non-Hawaiians? Do we think that non-Hawaiians are willing to give up that U.S. citizenship to become subjects of our kingdom?
So,
I have an answer for that.
so,
I don't think that
Wait.
I don't think that if we're going for independence, I don't particularly care if non-Hawaiians want to keep their U.S. citizenship or not. All I'm asking is, if this is our country, do you swear allegiance to this country? You know, and if America wants to get into a relationship, another trust relationship with us, I mean, they got a lot of work to do to get us back there. Like me, if I violate your house, I got a lot of work to do to get back in your trust. Well, we can discuss that then. As far as dual citizenship, all I be promoting is, are you loyal to this country? If you're loyal to this country, yes, you can be a citizen of this country.
Right, so that's why so to
But
the
if you
chart.
like keep your American citizenship and not swear allegiance to our country, then you can take your American citizenship where it is valid. Because in this country, this is our country.
Right. So that's exactly the point, that is a reality that we need to be discussing, that the only model right now that allows what you're just saying is a nation within a nation for non-Hawaiians to remain in this country to have dual citizenship. No? You're saying that they can be Americans but be,
Let me say it this way.
that's what I'm
Please.
trying
yeah,
to address.
I want to understand that.
That's what I'm trying to address, with the conjunction, with. Yeah.
Please,
Because
if you go to NH convention, you're going to see a document that is a proposal for the independence model. Okay? And in that proposal, what we say is that you can be a U.S. citizen, not a Hawaiian citizen. You can continue to live in Hawaii, but you cannot vote. Okay? So we are saying we're not going to throw everybody out, but you're not going to be able to vote and make policy decisions and land use
Right.
decisions.
I can go with that.
Only Hawaiian citizens, irrespective of the race. Even if you're 100% born in Hawaii, but you choose to remain a U.S. citizen, you ain't voting. Leo Kalani, in her last
Right,
chapter of the book, Pseudo-Hawaiians, she says, these people who are going to the United States, claiming to be Hawaiians and attempting to give Hawaii to the United States, are not Hawaiians and never were Hawaiians because they always held on to the foreign birthright. In the convention, we had big fight. We still don't have agreement. Some people say, well, allow dual citizen. Others people say, no, none of that. You make your choice. So it's not an issue that had been settled, but it's a very good discussion. Brother, you had your hand up a long time ago.
Like, go international. We get like 190 countries we can do it, the Hawaiian Kingdom, right? That's what Keanu said. Why are we gonna do it just United States? We can do it with China,
Right.
we can do it with other countries.
Right, we
You guys
negotiate.
just trying to do it with the United States. What about the British? We never tried. We gotta try, bro.
And we used to.
192 countries the Hawaiian Kingdom did. Keanu said that.
America, we're the central, right? That's why they took us over. So they're not, Americans will not give up Hawaii because it's a central place. That's why they brought all the ships and everything here.
I know what we
And
gave.
the other states will come in, they will come, they will stop.
Before we go on to another question, let me follow up on your question or your point. Hawaii has always been seen as a strategic location.
Right.
I was just talking with a retired full bird colonel out of the army. Okay? And his specialty was efficiency planning. He said the military going to cut thousands of personnel, and 20 states are going to get affected, one of which is Hawaii. And he says, according to his assessment, now many people disagree with him, but his assessment is that Hawaii's strategic location is no more. Yeah. He said,
Wow.
if you have what is called intercontinental ballistic missiles,
That's right.
you know, ICBMs,
Yeah.
that can fire from Cape Kennedy all the way to pinpoint within a mile of whatever target in China, Hawaii is no longer necessary. To move troops from Hawaii to Asia, they got to get the ships, because you don't have big enough ship to move troops, so you got to get them from California, maybe San Diego, to come to Hawaii, stop off, and then to take them over. So he's saying that the strategic argument
The technology
is
allows them
changing.
to-
He says even Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
He says it's costing us more to operate Pearl Harbor because of the high cost of labor and because we got to bring all of the materials in to fix the ships and all that stuff. He said it's cheaper for us to move it out, but because Dan Inouye, Dan Akaka, stopping it, had been stopping it,
And Neil never.
and Neil Abercrombie, who was head of the House Committee on Militarization, yeah? Hawaii had locked it all in. He said now Hawaii doesn't lock it all in, and there's going to be movement.
My thing also is I'm Portuguese Indian. I only born here. I'm the 5th generation from my family, so my great grandparents was the people that was cooking for Liliuokalani. If this thing gonna be only about Hawaiians, they're gonna have a fight on their hands because I have nowhere else I know. This is my place. This is where I live and my children, my grandchildren. Ain't nobody gonna tell me otherwise.
Right. So, a nation within a nation doesn't mean that you move or go anywhere. It's just, it's similar to what we had with OHA before. There was a time when just Hawaiians voted for OHA trustees. Before Rice v. Cayetano. Yes, you can.
On my birth certificate. My kids couldn't even go to camp school because they said no more now. But that's not fair because Liliuokalani said all her people was considered the peoples of Hawaii that go to that
Those
school.
that are allegiant, have their allegiance to Hawaii.
Yeah.
You don't
You can
need
vote
be
for
for Hawaii. I know can,
Why?
because I say I'm not a U.S. citizen. So on one hand, they allow only U.S. citizen and all U.S. citizens to vote. Everybody who comes from the military, live in Hawaii for at least 1 year, they can vote for OHA. But us guys who say that we are Hawaiian nationals, kept out. So there's some injustice over there.
And that's the reason why the conjunctive with. That should salute that, that should address that. That should allow those that prefer the dual citizenship, that they can go along with, not or and.
And talking about the dual citizenship, I started my career out as a civil engineer, and I worked in Lagersfield for the Air Force in Portugal, the Azorian Islands. A lot of our people are ancestors. And at one point, I finished my tenure there, and I was married to a Portuguese national, but I was not a citizen, and I didn't just relinquish my American citizenship because I wanted to stay there. I wanted to work there as a national, all right? And what ended up happening, though, is they gave me residencia. It wasn't a citizenship. It was like a visa. So the simple fact is that for those who live here, who are American citizens, who don't want to, and I have children that live in the United States, and they were born and raised here, but they live there now, and they would prefer to continue to be quote-unquote American citizens. That's fine, get a passport when you want to come visit your mother in Honolulu, that's it, you know? So there should be no real disruption as to the decision on whether you want to be a citizen or not. That should be the choice of those who, when we gain that independence, that's my choice. I do not want to be an American, recognized as an American citizen, and relinquish that passport, okay? I want to be a Hawaiian, and regardless, you can be that too, you know, no worries.
And then every April 15th,
Yeah.
you're going to find a lot of Americans becoming Hawaiians. Because they don't like pay tax to the American government. They don't want to finance any further colonization.
Yeah, I mean, and again, as was discussed about decolonization, that the situation having to fit in the reality that we live in today. We all know our history. We know the wrongdoing of the United States. It is a process. We are not just, as what was talked about tonight, it's not as easy. Maybe the United States is coming to a place, as you described, Poka, where Pearl Harbor is not critical anymore, and they'd be willing to give up. But there are things that need to take place. There is an undoing of statehood. We're not acknowledging that because that's not within the frame. But the United States, who has colonized us, is acknowledging that, and that is a reality that we live in. We don't have to like it. We don't have to accept it. We can deny being a U.S. citizen. We can stick to being a national. He opened up by saying he represented somebody in court because the argument was, this is U.S. law, we are a national. I ask each of you to think about what our society would be like every day if each of us did not follow that U.S. law. And we in jail. Right. We all claim we're U.S. We would have havoc, right? We cannot, until we have a plan, until there is a process and we formally figure out this decolonization, then is murder a reason to say I am not a U.S. citizen, charge me as a national, you don't have law? Is rape, is abuse of our children acceptable? No, none of that is. And so I'm not saying they're right, but that is the reality that people know.
On a little faster because it seems like the constant same questions, same answers, let's do this, but no movement. How do we get from A to Z now?
So, I mean, and that is the big question. I don't have the answer for how we get from A to Z to become independent. I don't. We've always been at the council focused on federal recognition, and right now that opportunity for us to take it a step further was with the DOI coming here to say what should a rule look like. And that is what
was
we...
also unfair because everybody that wanted to speak on any part of the different meetings, when they started seeing the same people coming up, they deny you before you even get the chance to say.
Let me get back to your earlier question. How do we move the agenda forward?
Yes.
That's a...
One, mindset change.
Change.
Instead of I'm against you because this is your position and this is my position, let's begin to recognize and respect every individual to have their own choices.
Yeah.
But all we try to do is advance the Hawaiian. Until we unite, we are divided. The best way to conquer a nation, divide. And we have participated in that division. Step number one, we need to unite. Change the deep culture. Still we disagree, okay, we understand that, but we are still united in, have you heard what she said? She said, I support independence.
Yeah.
Maybe not today, but I support independence. Okay, I support independence too. You go out into the community, the vast majority of our people support independence. We need to recognize that as our reality and stop the divisiveness from occurring. Of course, you're not involved in the integrationist aspect, because that's not where your interest is. But recognize that all we're trying to do is advance. That's point number one. Later on, I'm going to hit point number 2 and 3 about how we're going to reach that point. But we have somebody in the back.
Wow. I had with my son-in-law and they went up to me. So they get a free license plates. But, you know, I run out to license plates because that's our rights. I did insurance. I get my license, but I took off all my safety check and all that. I just running my license plates. My son-in-law that got pulled over, but they were both caught. And they were stand to the, they call outside, and they threw everything out of car. And still today, right now, I'm still running my license plates. Before the cops used to pull us over, but now they're not pulling us over. They're passing us right now. They just come behind, the motorcycle cop come right behind me. I went over back, not a police. The cop right behind me, and when another cop ran on the side of me, they passed me. And I gave one illegal, license.
Okay,
I
let me
mean,
ask
not illegal, but, to them it's illegal. But to me, that's my rights. We try, if we had like 400,000 people with that kind of license right now running around, they don't pull us all over. Oh, that's our rights. That's how the thing was stopped with the Larson was driving out without license. That's how the thing was stopped. The Larson stuff, right? Walk range and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process, right, that and then mindset changes over a period of time.
It throws up,
I mean, and in the process though, all I'm saying is that in the process, there are many folks, when you look at mortgages, Keanu has taken his position and fought against mortgage, and lost their family home over it, right? I'm just saying, there are risks involved and some people take those, but I think we need to be aware of all of those risks. And so we've watched homestead families take the same position and lose their home. So it's all up to what people are willing to risk.
Well,
I'm just saying we be careful, and everybody can make that choice for themselves. It's not or, it's and with.
Yeah,
Right?
but see what with Kali, he went and Kali Kumpra. He won, but he still lost. You know why? Because they told him, here he is fighting for Native Hawaiians, but he get a license under the state of Hawaii for his business. They wipe you out left, right, and upside down. You gotta know what you're doing, in full circle before you walk forward even one step. They don't play.
I got a question. So this governing entity you're talking about, they're going to have elected officials for it, right? Will those in the bylaws or rules or whatever for the governing entity, will they have to swear allegiance to the United States to become an official of the governing entity? The reason why I say that, why that should be a question for us, because I didn't know until recently when I was participating in all this OHA stuff, right? That the OHA trustees swear allegiance to the United States before they can even become a trustee of that. And so if your allegiance is to the United States, then how can you say you're there for us? Because your whole allegiance is to them. So this governing entity you guys are trying to put together, who are they going to be swearing allegiance to? To the Kanaka Maoli and our kingdom, or to the United States? Because if you're swearing to the United States, you're nothing more than another organization, just like OHA, who is screwing us because they answer to their daddy, which is Uncle Sam.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
What does that mean?
That means that if you stand up and you try to fight it, you may survive. When I was elected trustee to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, they had the swearing-in ceremony where everybody got to stand and raise their hand and swear to uphold and defend the Constitution. I sat down. The Attorney General's office came in and said, you lose your position, you're out of here. My response was, bullshit, you never elect me, the Hawaiian people elected me, and I always took that position that I would try to move OHA one step closer towards independence. I served 4 years. What you need is you need to have people willing to stand up. There's no guarantee that you're not going to get nailed.
Right.
But as Gandhi would say, you need to learn to sit in the flow of power and just contest. I haven't financed my colonization since, what was the last time? 1979. I haven't filed an income tax return. Yeah. Well, I haven't gone to jail yet. If I gotta go, I gotta go. But as Rada was saying, people have to be willing to make the commitment when their circumstance allows for it. You know, I represent a lot of people. Some people want to take the position that I take, or want to take the position of Hawaiian independence or Hawaiian sovereignty. I said, if you want to take that position, go ahead, but you better check the circumstance. Are you able to stand the jerk if you get nailed? Because I'm not going to jail for you. I'm going to try to defend you, but I'm not going to jail for you. So what we need to do is be very responsible in our action. The other thing I tell my defendants, once you take that position, you ain't going to change. If they tell you either you pay the fine or you go to jail, you ain't paying no fine. Because I don't want you to switch in the end and say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'll go pay the fine. No. So you make your decision at the beginning, because a lot of people are looking at you. They're looking at me. They're looking at the Hawaiian movement and seeing whether or not you can stand firm on that position. So not everybody jump in and then later on you bug out.
And I think that Poka brings up really good points in terms of coming together regardless of the side. Not or, but and Uncle Joe's analogy of with. That different people are at different risk levels and are willing to take on driving with a different license plate. Yeah, not paying taxes, not doing, whatever that may be. That's going to be different from everybody. That doesn't mean that one thing impedes upon the other. There are, even within independents and those who seek to restore the kingdom, for folks who support federal recognition, there's still confusion amongst ourselves because there's lots of different factions and different possibilities just within that independence movement, just within the kingdom restoration. We still need to work on that. That doesn't mean that we should stop, or that we should stop, or you should stop. You should keep fighting that quest. And yes, independence is what I believe people sought after, but right now we do. I will continue to support federal recognition.
You never answered the question, because he interjected the question of whether or not to be sworn an oath to the United States.
That will be up to the people, right?
What was
So
the question?
we form our
What
government.
was his question?
Allegiance.
Are we going to swear allegiance to the United States?
As a new
If the
governing
governing entity chooses to seek federal recognition, maybe so, but that is up for the people to decide. That's not for me to tell you, yes, all people will have to make an allegiance to the United States. That's not my decision. That will be up to the vote of the people. Yes.
You shouldn't rush into it. Gradually.
Right, we're not rushing. So I want to be clear about why we're supporting the DOI rulemaking process. The DOI rulemaking process is not rushing you to federal recognition, but under the Obama administration, it is leaving that door open. It's not saying we are recognized. They are asking Hawaiians, what should be included in a rule should your governing entity seek federal recognition? We should be telling them what you would want it to look like. If it's, I don't want a rule because I will never want federal recognition, fine, maika'i. But for those of us who do, it doesn't guarantee we're going to have federal recognition, but it gives us a process, and it doesn't rush anything. That once that governing entity is formed, we can choose whatever. But I want that rule to be available, because if we choose federal recognition, just to humor me, because I know you don't, but if we did choose federal recognition, the process doesn't exist for us to try to seek that. We would have to go back to doing the Akaka bill again, getting legislation passed. That's all that rulemaking process was about, or is about. Comments still to the 19th.
Sing a song of sovereignty wherever you may be. Throw your voice upon the wind and let it rain. Join the voices of the ages, an ancient melody. It's a song you should not be afraid to sing. It's a song that was written by